Welcome to the Oracle Codex Podcast. In this podcast, we are unfolding the divine mysteries and remembrances of the Oracle. What is her story? What was lost that we are now reclaiming? And what is her medicine? Let's unwind and reweave our sacred history. I'm your host, Grace, and I'll be holding space during our journey together. Love you so much, and let's dive in. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Oracle Codex Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. I am so excited to be here with you today. We are again alone. I am thinking about who I'm going to invite onto this podcast, what they're going to be like, who I want them to be, when I'm going to reach out to them, all of the things. But thus far, it's just us, me and you. And today we are talking about sovereignty, how we lose sovereignty, self-love, and how sovereignty and self-love are intermingled. And I had a huge meditation realization today, wherein which I realized that my codes were not able to be turned on and were kind of being stifled and repressed because I was focused on an external fixation and an external orientation. And that was not allowing me to enter and access my codes within. And this is a huge conversation, so we're gonna dive into this. But first, I have to take a sip of my hojicha. Have you ever had hojicha? Supposedly, it's like slightly baked matcha leaves. It kind of tastes like rice powder. Anyways, that's my drink of choice today, so what are you drinking? Let me know down below or DM me. I'm a real foodie girl and I'm a real comfort girl. I thrive when I have a drink, when I have a snack, when I have something to nourish me, because I am definitely in the process right now of allowing myself to receive, allowing myself to be given, to provide, but also receive, right? And I think that that's a huge thing that in our society, most of us are just not comfortable with, is receiving and actually nourishing ourselves. And especially in the spiritual community where it's all like, you know, what are you doing if you're not fasting? You're not going to be healthy. You got to be minimal. You got to be less materialistic. It's time to get uncomfortable. No. It's time for us to receive. It's time for us to nourish ourselves and to come back to this body and to come back to our primordial abundance and our sacred nourishment to be fully provided for. That's just where I'm at in my current stationing of my life. If that's not where you are, I honor you and love you, and I'm so grateful that I get to learn from you and we can learn from each other. Because it's all about just like us honoring ourselves and what do we need. Because we're not all the same person, right? So anyways, this is the bridge into sovereignty. So sovereignty is this beautiful frequency and kind of code that is embedded into our light bodies, our energy fields. It's like our avatar state is sovereignty. And sovereignty means that you yourself are free and are self-providing and are self-orienting and are not like leeching off of somebody else, needing something from somebody else, or being restricted and repressed by somebody else. So you are fully operating, orienting, nourishing, providing within and of yourself. You are sovereign in yourself. All of your materials, all of your gems, all of your codes, they are within yourself. That is sovereignty. Like you might have heard like a sovereign state or declaring sovereignty, right? So when we are sovereign, it means that we are self-sourcing, we are self-providing. It doesn't mean that we can't trade with other people or be in contact and connection with other people, of course. That is deeply important. But it means that we are aware of ourselves. We're aware of our orbit. We're not needing anybody else. We're not like leeching off onto other people. We are sovereign in our field. And sovereignty is absolutely important. I think that the New Age spiritual communities are not really understanding or honoring sovereignty and sovereignty of self. Because when we are so insistent upon not having a self or not having an ego or not having an identity, then we are in some ways losing our sovereignty. Because, and this is, again, I'm not saying this blank statement, I'm just saying this as I process and weave into this frequency, that I am noticing time and time again that people want it to be all and one and united and no self and no boundaries and no, questioning and just love. And while that is beautiful in ideation and as a philosophy, we also need to honor our sovereignty of self. We also need to honor that we are unique individual beings who are operating within and as one, of course, yes, through God's source and through ourselves. But we don't want to lose our sovereignty. We don't want to dissolve all of our identity into the pool of the one, because then you're not taking self-responsibility. You're not sovereign in your being. You're not sovereign in your expression. You're not going to be able to ascend into your highest mission, which is going to require you in some aspect to have a self in order to have the drive to actually complete something and to come to a pinnacle point where you are a leader or you are providing something or you are of service. And I think that's something that the spiritual New Age community is really missing, in my opinion. But alas, I don't want to digress. And I digress. I don't know what the word digress actually means, to be honest, or how to use it. So, where do we lose sovereignty? We lose sovereignty from excess stimulation. So from TV shows and movies and excess scrolling. We lose sovereignty when we give our identity and our orientation to somebody else, whether that's a group or a community or a person outside of ourselves, when we believe that they know more than us and that they have the answers that we seek. We give our sovereignty over to them sometimes unconsciously. And we, of course, lose our sovereignty at times in the society that we live in our countries, in the way that we're eating, the way that we don't have self-responsibility for what we are consuming. All of these ways we are losing our sovereignty, right? And this dilutes our empowerment because unconsciously, while consciously and unconsciously, we are actively partaking in something that isn't of true organic nourishment and providence to self, and providence to the whole, and providence to the one true living God. And of course, again, within sovereignty, it's all about you noticing within yourself what you need for your orientation, for your highest self. Not what I would dictate upon you, not what anybody else would dictate upon you. It's you understanding your sovereignty with Source God. And so within this external fixation, so I noticed in meditation today that I was focusing externally on validation, on affirmation, and on fixation and placement. And because I was focused externally, I was acting from voidness. And this happens when we are not fully self-loving and when we are not operating from internal centeredness and from that internal core. Right? And so for a few weeks now, I think that I've been acting from this external fixation and this external orientation. And this can happen from time to time within all of us when we are not properly maintaining our internal energetic boundaries and energetic responsibility for self, right? We can get lost in what other people want us to do, what other people think we should be, who we should be, how we should act, seeking their affirmation, seeking their validation. And this is an external orientation, and it takes away from our sovereignty and from us being able to truly access our key codes, truly being able to descend within in order to arise and to become anew and to really become embodied. And the more that we are externally orientated and externally fixated within our placement of our energy, because the front of our body is like this beacon of light, right? And when we are fixated upon something, that means that our orientation, our energy, our radio channel is tuned into that reality. And so when we are orientated, placed, and fixated on somebody outside of us, on a dream or desire outside of us, on a timeline outside of us, we are orientated outside of self. And all of our energy, all of our vitality is going to go to that thing. And when it does not provide back for us, we are losing energy because we are providing so much sustenance and vitality to that thing that is not actually meant for us. And the energy, all of our vitality falls away. It doesn't return back to us. It's not an organic, cyclical experience within giving and receiving and being in that harmonious connectivity to our highest timeline. It is an external placement and then a loss of energy. So we need to shift our sovereignty and our energy and our directional orientation back upon self, back upon this heart, this solar plexus, this identity, and not within ego, but within organic orientation and organic placement and organic understanding of self, so that we may descend to then build back up into this castle, into this mansion that can provide a service that can be fully fulfilled. And we lose self-love when we are externally orientated. Why do we lose self-love when we are externally orientated? Because we're not acting from awareness of self. We may not be actively aware of the choices that we're making and the repercussions or the whys or the hows. We may not be aware of who we are interacting with and how they make us feel. And slowly but surely, when we are continuously focused on the external, we are absorbing other people's energies and the energies that they are placing upon our external fixation, which then dilutes our expression of self. It dilutes and disorients even further our understanding of self, because they are placing so much of their perspective and energies onto our external focus, our external fixation. Because again, like, think of it like your energy is being projected out of you within your aura. And if your aura is only, operating fixated on the external, and you're only aware of your external surroundings, and people are putting things into your aura and ideas and perceptions of you, then all you would be aware of is your external aura and like the things that people have placed upon you and projected onto you. That would be your identity. And so how would you have any self-love and self-understanding and self-understanding when you are only focused upon the external? When we live within our core, when we are operating from this vitality, this perfect orientation of being so held within, you will naturally develop self-love and self-understanding, and you will naturally become way more hypersensitive, because you will be so deeply aware of self, and you'll be so deeply aware of self that when somebody places something upon you that is not you or not God, you will easily know, you will easily feel it, because it will be foreign, it will not be organic to you. And so we need to live within our core, live within our self, so that this self can radiate outwards and really heal and nourish and be of organic providence to God and to self and to others. So in my opinion, like I stated in the beginning of this video, I believe that anti-self movements bring on the loss of personal sovereignty. I really do. Because if we are void of self, and if we're not connecting to ourselves, and we're not connecting to the core of our being, and the colors and the frequencies and the vibrancies of your unique expression, and you're dissolving all aspects of self into a wholeness, you're not going to have personal sovereignty. You're not going to have a personal drive. You're just going to be at the whim of the whole. And yes, aspects of this are in accordance to like what I would perceive as like organic nature and organic signatures. And of course we all want to dissolve into the wholeness, but we have to be aware that it is also our personal responsibilities during this lifetime to be action oriented and to provide a service. That's why we're here. We're here to be of service. We're not here to float around and be in, love. And while that is a part of the journey, and it is a part of the divine, sacred, organic architecture of this universe, we also need to understand ourselves and understand what our souls are seeking. And when I say action, I know that some of you may shrink and feel even more exhausted because it's like, I don't have any more energy to give. I don't have any energy to give to my mission because I'm confused and I'm lost. And I totally see you and I understand you and I feel so similarly. So I don't want to project that exhaustion and uncertainty and like corruptive structure of like 9 to 5 and like make it happen and like all this stuff. My mission for women, for spiritual women and spiritual men, is to support them in being able to return home so that first and foremost you are nourished within your internal vitality. You are aware of yourself, you are aware of your mission, you are now receiving, you're comfortable to receive. So now that you can, within that, take action externally and provide a service and be on your mission, whatever that means. Maybe you want to open a sanctuary or a school. Maybe you want to be a healer. Maybe you want to be a teacher. Maybe you want to be a doctor or a medicine woman or man. That is really my sacred desire, without having all of the structures around it to be like, oh, if you want to take action and be on your mission, then you have to be absolutely depleted. And you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you have to be comfortable being absolutely depleted and not receiving replenishment and like get used to it. And also you don't have a version, you don't have a self, and you don't have any of this color or vibrancy or nourishment. It's all void. Like that literally feels so traumatizing to my body to even hear. So we're erasing all of that. That is not a thing. No more. We do not claim that within self-love and within internal orientation and within this connection to God's source. My heart's desire is to provide people an opportunity to step into their leadership while being fully nourished, to step into their purpose, to step into their actualization and embodiment of self, knowing that they are completely unique and that your expression and experience of self is absolutely unique to you. It's not going to look like anybody else's journey. Even within me doing business right now and me taking action on all these courses, and I'm on the brink of moving out, and I'm, working like 4 jobs right now, and it's absolutely exhausting. And sometimes I'm like, oh, perfect. Now I'm in the big game where I'm like, making money and like doing all the things that the external society and external world has deemed as successful. But it doesn't feel successful for the oracle. It doesn't feel successful for the priestess or the medicine woman or the spiritual healer. And it's because it's not organic. It's not organic unless you are attuned into your capacity, into your mission, and into your codes. And this morning I felt so successful because I could feel the codexings of my mission. And I could feel her speak to me what I needed to do, how I needed to act, how I needed to hold myself. And that is success because it comes from within, and it is a providence, and it is a frequency that is so unique and precious to you. That's why we need to be internally orientated. A self-love practice that I want to provide, if you are feeling like disconnected from yourself or out of orient or externally focused, or like you have shame and a lot of forgiveness to do for self, what I would invite you to do is to, in meditation, start to slowly find your center, find your core. And you can find your core by tuning into your solar plexus and the lower astral, lower heart. They call it the lower astral heart, but it doesn't have to necessarily be connected to the astral. It's all about your intention and just connecting to your core. Your core, it might be your whole abdomen. It might be chest to pelvic floor. It might be just the heart. It might be the solar plexus. I want you to find your center and find your core. And when you find your core, I just want you to tune into it and reorient your energies back onto your core. Reorient all of your perceptions and all of your directions back onto your core, so that this is where you're acting from. This is where you're living and breathing from. And then we're going to teach the body how to love self again. So this is something that we need to remind ourselves of, because in the external world, we are being bombarded with self-hate and self-repression and anti-self and all of these things that are not nourishing and loving to self. And so we need to almost sing and pray upon the body that I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you body, I love you body, I love you heart, I love you skin, I love you stomach, I love you womb, I love you hair, I love you eyes, I love you nose, I love you breath, I love you throat, I love you body, I love you body, I love you, and then your name, I love you, and then your name. And when you speak this to yourself softly and continuously, and you make it a practice, like doing this for 10 minutes, doing this for half an hour, you will feel so nourished afterwards. It's not even funny. Like, you will feel so held and provided for and cared for and nourished. It is absolutely insane. And when you do this, if you know how to, you can start doing energy healing on yourself and moving frequencies and moving energies and opening up pathways and allowing the energy to flow and to move. Because when the body feels safe and loved is when the energy moves the most. Another practice that I would encourage you to do, if you feel called to, is to see all versions of yourself become whole again. So when we think about self and when we acknowledge self, if there's any aspect of you that feels like fragmented or distorted or, hateful or angry in any way, through the field, we can perceive those aspects, those parts of self at whatever age they are in, and we can just see them glowing and whole and golden. And we are within this practice seeking to create wholeness within aspects of ourself that have become fragmented or that have become, compartmentalized or wounded or shattered and scared and angry and suffering. And whether that was because somebody projected that upon you, or you projected it upon yourself, or it's from an ancestral line, or it's from a projection or an evil eye, whatever it is, you can reclaim through your field multidimensionally, through your vision and your intention, to create wholeness within all versions of yourself when you witness them. When you witness them through the field, when you witness them through your timeline, you can create and witness them whole again and claim that within your body and field. And when you do this, slowly but surely, you are actualizing this embodiment. You are actualizing these timelines to be healed and to be held within wholeness. And within this, there might be energy healing that needs to be done, like timeline repairs, or frequencies or negative entities or energies that need to be cleared, or any, warped objects or encasements or repressions or imprisonments. And that can be done through, your self-practice or by working with a facilitator or myself. And so these are the practices that I would highly encourage you to do to reclaim self-sovereignty and to reclaim self-love and self-actualization and self-embodiment. And this is so important so that we are able to return back to self and become whole again. So thank you so much for listening, for being here, for being so courageous to witness this, to do the work, and to partake in this beautiful journey of finding yourself and finding new versions of self and becoming more and more embodied every day. It is such an honor to witness you and to be with you and to hold you. If you would like to connect deeper with me, I hold space for women, spiritual women who are seeking their leadership and their purpose. And we work within energy healing and all of these powerful, powerful methods to bring you back to self. And that is my sacred art and sacred honoring. And if it feels aligned for you, you can always contact me at Grace Crysdale or at creationalcodes.com. And I thank you again for tuning in today and for being here and for being so courageous to do this work and to listen and to seek yourself. It is really, really not easy work. So truly, truly, congratulations. Thank you so much. You're doing it. Know that you're doing it. Claim it. It's happening. It already is. And so it is. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next time. Much love.